Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. This is episode 14, and this is a podcast primarily about knitting and dyeing yarn and some other things that I get up to from time to time. My name is Taylor, and I am your host. I am coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, where I am from and where I live with my husband, Brandon, our 2.5-year-old son, Angus, and our big fat cat, Oscar, and we are expecting a new addition to our family in March, which is news to us just recently, so we're super excited about that. But thank you so much for stopping by to check out the podcast. You can also join the Ravelry group for the Wool Needles Hands podcast by going to Ravelry, clicking on the groups tab, and typing in Wool Needles Hands, a knitting podcast. Join in the fun there. We have a lot of conversations going on for the different knit-alongs that are going on, so join the fun over there. You can also find me on Instagram. I am at Wool Needles Hands, and I am also at fiber.for.the.people, which is the Instagram connected to my hand-dyed yarn business, which is Fiber for the People Yarn. You can visit the website fiberforthepeopleyarn.com to check out what's going on in the shop. You can also watch vlogs that are connected to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast channel. They are called Making Progress, and it's where I chronicle my experience of hand-dyeing yarn and having a hand-dyed yarn business. I share it with you over there on those vlog installments, so definitely check that out if you are interested. Also, if you have any questions or you'd like to get a hold of me, you can email me here at the podcast, which is woolneedleshands@gmail.com. That's where you can direct all questions related to the podcast, or you can just ask me down in the comment section below or over on the Ask Me Anything thread on Ravelry. If you are a returning viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. If you are a new viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for giving this podcast a chance. If you are a regular viewer of the podcast, you know that I have taken a hiatus. I have been away from podcasting for a few months now. We went on a 2-week vacation in August, and then when we got back, we found out that we were going to be expecting a new little member of our family. And that kind of turned things upside down for us briefly. We ended up moving into a larger house, and everything has just been pretty chaotic. So I'm finally getting settled in our new place, and I have managed to pull off a relatively similar set to the one I was filming in before. I'm so happy to be back in front of the camera, sharing some of the things that I've been up to with you guys. I have had a lot going on since the last time that we spoke. However, I warn you, this episode is not heavy in the knitting content. I haven't gotten a lot of knitting done, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I do have a lot of things to share with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. While I have been away, there have been some knit-alongs that finished up, and I want to go ahead and take care of the knit-along winners for those knit-alongs. So the first knit-along that I'm going to talk about right now is the Great Unravel 2017. This kicked off in April, and we had it going through all the way until the end of summer, essentially, and I am going to announce the winners for that knit-along right now. The prize that you will be winning now is a skein of Blue Sheep Yarn Company naturally dyed yarn. This is gorgeous. I love the beautiful colors that we have with Blue Sheep Yarn Co. This is a light fingering. It is in the Buckthorn Berry colorway. Like I said, all naturally dyed. It's gorgeous. So you will receive a skein of this. And then also by Blue Sheep Yarn Company, you will be receiving a indigo tie-dyed project bag, which is gorgeous. Has a really, really pretty zipper. You will also be receiving a project bag, which is by Saved by Kate on Etsy. She creates her project bags out of recycled textiles, and this one is adorable. I used a similar project bag for a project just recently. It was actually my Great Unravel project, and I love it so much. So this will also be coming your way. You will have 2 project bags and a skein of yarn. So let's go ahead and talk about the winner. Okay, so the winner is Rachel. Rachel, who is, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this Ravelry name, but I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. This is Rachel, and she did the dishcloth cardigan, and you can see that here. It is gorgeous. Rachel, thank you so much for participating in this knit-along. Definitely get in touch with me. I'm going to get in touch with you just in case you haven't seen the podcast, because I've been away for a while, but I will get in touch with you and I will get this prize out to you ASAP, but congratulations, Rachel. We also have the Spin for All 2017, which was a spin-along. It was co-hosted by Joy from The Anxious Knitter and Katie of the Arrow Knits podcast, as well as myself. I did not participate in this thoroughly. I actually quit about halfway through, just because I realized that among everything else that I was doing, it just wasn't something that I enjoyed. However, what I did enjoy was watching all of the people that participated in this spin along creating amazing little plied skeins of yarn. It was so cool, so impressive to see the things that you guys came up with. So without further ado, I am going to name the winner of the Spin for All 2017. And that winner will be choosing from 2 bats of fiber from Misty Mountain Makers. You'll have a choice of this colorway here, which is Mr. Blue Skies, and a choice of this colorway here, which is Delicate. Both of these are, they contain a Firestar fiber, which is kind of a sparkly, shimmery fiber that runs throughout. Mr. Blue Skies is Merino and BFL with Bamboo and Firestar, and this is 4.65 ounces. And Delicate is Merino and Superwash Merino, Falkland, and BFL wools with Tencel and Firestar. You can choose which of these you would like for the Spin for All 2017 winner giveaway, I guess you could say. Just get in touch with me once you see this, or I will get in touch with you, let you know that you won. I will send in the email a picture of each of these, and you can decide the one that you would like. So the winner of the Spin for All 2017 is Sue from Mama Sue Knit. Congratulations, Sue. This is Sue's finished little plied skein of yarn, and it's beautiful. Everybody's was so beautiful, but congratulations, Sue. Get in touch with me. I will get in touch with you, and we'll get that prize out to you right away. Okay, another knit along update. Before I went on my little hiatus, which was a little longer than I expected it to be, I had talked about joining the girls in the Yarn Cafe, Tristan and Christy, in the Rhinebeck sweater knit along. Now, a few things have changed with this. I am actually not going to be going to Rhinebeck this year. Some things have changed. After we found out we were expecting another little one, some priorities changed, some budgeting had to be changed, especially with moving into a larger place and this and that. So we're not going to be going to Rhinebeck this year. And quite honestly, with everything else going on, it was kind of a relief to take that off the table. So I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. I missed the chance to be able to meet some of the people that I was going to meet there, but I'm really ultimately okay with it. And that doesn't mean that I am not going to be doing a Rhinebeck sweater this season, but what I have decided to do is to take the knit along for the Rhinebeck sweater, which I kind of, in this space of the Wool Needles Hands Knitting podcast, I made the technical starting day September 1st. I'm going to take it all the way to January 1st just to give, number one, myself some more time. I am a slow knitter. I don't get things in and off or on and off the needle super fast, and so it would be nice to have a little bit of an extension, and then as it gets closer to January 1st, we'll kind of feel out where everybody is. I know that some people that are participating in this knit along have already finished sweaters, and I think that's amazing. Maybe if you want to try knitting another one, you can do 1.5 and I'll throw you in for the prize. I'll count you twice, or if you can finish 2 sweaters, then whatever it is that you want to do, you can keep participating, and then every time you submit something new, it has to be a sweater, so that kind of limits how many things we can submit, I guess. I will count you for the prize. I don't have an actual prize for you yet, but it will be 2 skeins of Fiber for the People yarn, which is my own hand-dyed yarn, which is actually going to be back up and running soon. I have my dyeing studio set to start pumping out some beautiful yarn. My next shop update will be on the last Thursday of September, and I'll come up with an actual date for you and put it up on the screen here so you can see it, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But anyway, that's kind of where we are right now with the Rhinebeck sweater knit along. So keep knitting. I'm going to go ahead and begin casting on my project within the next little bit here so I can start going along with you guys. That's where we are with that. It's kind of our own little thing right now. I know that Tristan and Christy have their own deadline for pre-Rhinebeck or just after Rhinebeck because they are going to Rhinebeck. So I'm just doing it a little bit different considering my particular situation right now. So still, if you would like to knit a Rhinebeck sweater and join in the fun, then definitely please do. We do have a little bit more time to knit it, so I guess you could say it's a Rhinebeck sweater that we're knitting now to wear next season. Today I am drinking mandarin orange, spiced mandarin orange herbal tea. It's delicious. It's one of my favorite go-tos for hot tea that's caffeine free, and I'm limiting my caffeine intake a little bit these days because I am expecting a little one. I have not quit caffeine altogether just because it's okay to have a little bit of caffeine when you're pregnant. And so I take advantage of that allowance. But right now this is caffeine free and it's delicious. If you like spicy teas that have warm spices in them, plus something a little citrusy, this is perfect. It's Celestial Seasonings Mandarin Orange Spice Tea, and I am drinking it in this lovely sunflower mug. It's a really big mug. I just found this actually out in my garage. It was full of, I think, plastic knives and forks, and I brought it inside, cleaned it up, and now I'm using it for tea, and it's perfect. So yeah, we have Mandarin Orange Spiced Tea by Celestial Seasonings. Somebody asked me in an Ask Me Anything thread question if I'm actually able to drink the tea before it gets cold during the filming of a podcast, and the answer to that is most of the time, yes, I can drink it before it gets cold. However, there are some times where it's just too warm in the room, and I go to start drinking it and I realize that it's just too warm to finish it, so it gets set down. And then actually when it cools down and it becomes room temperature, it's much more desirable, and then I finish it once it's cold. So it's a win-win for everybody, really. So I want to take the opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about what's been going on with me for the last, I think it's been close to 2.5 months since I recorded a podcast, and I just want to share kind of what's been going on with me since then. I'm not going to go into great detail. This isn't going to be a huge, long storytelling session, but I just want to give you a little bit of an update about some of the stuff that's going on in our life right now and where have I been this whole time? So here we go. Last time I filmed a podcast was in July. I had mentioned that I was going on a 2-week vacation. We went to Washington, Seattle area, and then we were there for a week seeing family, and then we went up to Alaska for another week for a wedding and kind of getting to see family up there, and it was amazing. We got to do some really amazing things that not everybody gets to do, that lives in the southwest of the United States. We fished for salmon on the Kenai River. We drove out to Homer and walked out on Homer's Spit and got to see beautiful glaciers, amazing, views of the most incredible mountains. We took a fjord cruise out of Seward, the harbor in Seward. It was surreal almost to kind of have that experience. And while we were on this fjord cruise, which is just a cruise of the fjord on the inside, you don't actually go out into open water or anything like that, but we did get to see a pod of orca swimming around the fjord area, and it was really incredible. Even the driver of the boat said that this isn't something that they typically see, that it was a very unusual experience, but it was so cool because they were so close, and I had never seen anything like that before. My husband he'd been to Alaska before, but it was really cool for Angus to see things like that in person. It was just, I don't know, I feel like I could go on and on and on, but it was a really, really awesome experience, full of activity, so there was lots going on all the time, very busy. We definitely were tired and ready to come home when it was time to come home, but it was super enjoyable, so we had a lot of fun with that. Prior to going on our vacation, we found out that we were going to be having another baby, and that was really, it's a huge blessing, but it was a surprise. So we weren't expecting that, we weren't planning on anything like that, so it was a huge surprise. And when we returned from our vacation, it was kind of like time for us to kind of get our head in gear about the news that we received shortly before the vacation. So it was definitely like get back to reality kind of a thing. And about 2 days after we returned home, Brandon, my husband, started school. So school was back in session. He teaches high school social studies and coaches baseball. And so it was right back to work for him. And so everything was just really crazy. For us, there was definitely that momentary time when we really had to kind of think about what we were going to be doing to make some adjustments. We needed a bigger place. We definitely didn't have enough room. So there was about a 2-week period of time, maybe not even that, when we returned home and we started looking for a larger place and then get moved out of our apartment and into the new place, which took a long time because when you have a toddler, moving from place to place isn't the easiest, and we had the luxury of having my parents in town, so we were able to stay with them while we kind of paced ourselves getting everything moved to the new place. And you really realize how much stuff you have when you move. That was stressful, and I was in my first trimester. You're tired all the time, and I wasn't feeling good, just nauseous a lot. So it was a lot going on during that first several weeks of expecting a new baby. Because of all of that going on, I decided I needed to kind of focus on my family and getting all of our things moved into the new place and focus on what was going on immediately in my life at that point. And that's why I kind of stretched my little hiatus out a bit. But now that we are settled, and we finally are settled for the most part, now I'm finally getting to the point where life is almost normal again and settled, and we can start kind of getting back into the routine. It's all really amazing news, and it's super exciting. We have a bigger house, we have a yard right outside this window, which you can't see right now because it's bright out there. We do have a yard with grass, trees, and we're working on some things out there. We have a little front yard area, and I'm going to be able to plant flowers and have a little garden, so it's really very special for us. So we're super, super excited about that. But that's kind of what's been going on with us. I'm sure I've left something out. It's, there's so much that happens. You may have noticed I'm wearing glasses, and I chopped my hair off. And these are two things that I've always worn glasses. It's just that I had never worn them when I podcasted, but I'm wearing them now. So that is something a little bit different. And then, yes, I did cut my hair. I was growing it out, and it kind of got to this point where I couldn't really do anything with it, and unless I actually wanted to get up and blow it dry and style it and do all of those kinds of things to it, it didn't really look that great. And so I am not feeling very well and not having the energy to do that every single morning. I decided to go back to my usual. This is actually how I keep my hair typically. Prior to starting the podcast, I think I started growing my hair out around the time I started the podcast, which is back in February. But prior to that, I always cut my hair choppy and short in a pixie cut type situation, kind of like this. And I'm so happy to have it back because it is super easy. I can style it and make it look fun, and I'm really happy about that. So yeah, my hair is, this is normal for me, so it'll become normal for you, hopefully. But that's an update on kind of some things that I've been up to. I am back, you guys, and I'm so happy to be back. Thank you guys so much for waiting patiently, for sticking it out, and my MIA time, just still being there for me, sending well wishes whenever you had the opportunity. If I ever left comments on Instagram or updated you on Ravelry, those of you that got back to me with your well wishes, I really, really appreciate it. It meant so much to me. I've been thinking about all of you guys this whole time I've been away, and so it's really nice to be back. So that's what's been going on with me lately. This is something really interesting going on right now in the science of electricity. It is actually a type of yarn that makes its own electricity. Now, I'm not talking about like a wool yarn that we're all used to. This is a yarn made out of something called carbon nanotubes. So these carbon nanotubes are actually 10,000 times smaller in diameter than a human hair. So you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. This is micro science that we're talking about here. This is so small. But these nanotubes are being spun together much in the same way that you would spin yarn on a spinning wheel, so that they create applied yarn. Now this yarn is very, very thin. The gauge of the yarn is very, very thin because the individual strands, like I said, are 10,000 times smaller in diameter than a human hair. But what happens with this yarn is when it's spun into a plied piece of yarn, it's twisted and twisted and twisted. That energy that's created when they do this with those carbon nanotubes spun into this yarn creates its own electricity.
This yarn might not make the best sweater, but when pulled, it generates electricity. An international team of researchers have developed a technology they refer to as twistron harvesters. These tiny twists consist of a carbon nanotube string tied into a tangled weave of carbon, then submerged in a gel full of ions. When pulled, carbon nanotubes squeeze together, decreasing the electrochemical capacitance and thereby generating a small current, enough to momentarily light up an LED. This research shows that carbon nanotubes can produce electricity just as well. The researchers tested the carbon nanotube yarn's power generating ability in several situations. This shirt has a pair of these twistron yarns sewn in. When the wearer breathes in and out, a small amount of electricity is generated, which could be useful data for medical devices. Researchers also looked into whether this tech could harness power from ocean waves. The harvesters worked when placed in ocean-like saltwater, and were able to generate electricity when the wave motion tugged at the yarn. While these proof of concepts don't generate enough power to light your home or charge your electric car, The researchers say that due to their scalable nature, these carbon nanotube yarns may have applications anywhere reliable kinetic energy is available.
Says that the easiest way to think of twist-drawn harvesters is you have a piece of yarn, you stretch it, and out comes electricity. It's really, really amazing to me because this is a science that has so much real-world application potential here, and it all stems from the concept of yarn. And this is just another way that this craft that we love so much and this fiber that we work with so much kind of shapes a lot of things going on in science. So I just thought that was really cool. I wanted to share that with you guys. It is knitting that's in the news right now, and I thought it was super interesting. So I'm not going to dive too deeply into my works in progress because I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have done zero knitting since we returned from Alaska. Zero. I haven't picked up any of my projects since we were in Alaska. I don't know if that's something that happens to women in general, where the first trimester, I'm telling you, that first trimester comes along and it hits you like a bus in a lot of cases, and it really took a toll on me this time around. And I think it had a lot to do with other things going on that were weighing on me at the same time. But I just didn't have any interest in picking up my knitting. So I apologize if what I'm going to show you is pretty similar to what you've seen before. But, you know, I've mentioned it before. I'm not a prolific knitter. Things aren't flying off my knitting needles left and right. I'm a relatively slow knitter, and that's just the way it is. So confession, that's kind of the way it is for me. But I am getting excited about picking my projects back up. I'm feeling so much better these days. So there is hope. There is definitely hope. But I'm going to share with you, I'm just going to show, it's actually more of a reminder. This is what I was working on. Remember that? So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at some of the things I have in these project bags over here that are calling my name for attention. While I was in Washington, and actually I worked on this particular project most of the time while I was in Washington, I did begin continuing work on my Find Your Fade shawl. And so I'll just give you a quick glimpse of the project, or of the progress I've made on that, but I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just not going to do that this episode. In future episodes, I will go into more detail on my projects. But if you are a new viewer to the podcast and would like to know more of these particular projects that I'm going to show you, for all except one, just check out the previous episode or maybe the one before that, and you'll get more information there. But right now, I'm just going to give you a quick glance at what I have so far. So here is the Find Your Fade shawl. But last time I showed this, I had very little of this copper color started, and now I am finished with the copper color. I am working on the espresso roast color that you can see right there. That is my own hand-dyed yarn. That's one of my Lucky Strike colorways, one-of-a-kind colorway in espresso roast. It's really very beautiful. This is the cake of yarn for espresso roast. It is on my Hope base. This is an 80/20 merino silk base, and it's gorgeous, but I'm in love with this color, and I really love the way that it's playing off of that copper. We'll see more of this as I work on this. I'm actually really excited to work on this. This is the one project that's been calling my name out of everything that I have going on right now, and that's unusual because this is the one that I kind of set off to the side for a while, but since I picked it back up and finished, you know, this section here, I really have kind of fallen back in love with this. So that is my Find Your Fade shawl. You can see, and the Find Your Fade, if you're new to this particular project, I say it so quickly because it's so out there, it's everywhere, but you may not be familiar with it. It is the Find Your Fade by Andrea Mowry, and it's a beautiful oversized shawl, and I'm really excited to be working on it, but it has taken me forever. This was a project I was working on, and I think I started at my second episode of the podcast back in February, and I'm still working on it. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. That's just the way things are. So same old, but that's just how it is. So anyway, here is the Find Your Fade in all of its glory. Let me see if I can do this without a huge mess. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Oh, I love the colors. Not bad. That was pretty good. That worked out. That worked out, you guys. So, Find Your Fade. And the Find Your Fade, and I was going to save this for my acquisitions segment, but I'll go ahead and just share it with you right now. This is living in a project bag that I picked up while I was in Seward, Alaska. This is the project bag here. It is so beautiful. I love it so much. I love this print on the top portion of the bag here. And then it's just a really simple polka dot with a ribbon handle with anchors, and the handle can come off, which is nice. And then of course we have a little stitch or progress keeper here, which I love. So there is a mom and daughter team that make these bags, and I believe they live in Anchorage, Alaska. They make them and they bring them to a little yarn shop in Seward, Alaska to sell in the yarn shop. And so this is handmade by a mom and daughter team. And the yarn shop where I purchased this, a Flying Skein. So here's the business card for a Flying Skein. They are in Seward, Alaska. Really cute yarn store. I'll go ahead and show a little bit of footage that I have from this yarn shop in just a second, but this is a Flying Skein in Seward, and this is where I purchased this project bag, and I love it so much. I actually also purchased a little set of stitch markers to go along with it, and I want to say that these are also made by that mom-daughter team. I'm not 100% sure, but really excited about that. So my Find Your Fade is living in this project bag. And really quick before I move on, here's some photos of a Flying Skein in Seward, Alaska. So I decided that I'm just going to show you the Find Your Fade I'm going to show because I made some significant progress there, but I am also going to show you something new. You haven't seen this yet. This is a Hermione's Everyday Sock, the beginning of a Hermione's Everyday Sock. And I really love the pattern. I think if you've heard of anybody who's knit this, they probably have told you that it just flies off the needles, and it really does. This is knit using my own Fiber for the People yarn. This is the Peach Pit colorway on the gilded base. It is a gold stellina base, and I think it's beautiful with the stitch pattern here. And then this is my Movin' On Up mini fiber colorway. It's just a semi-solid to solid colorway, and it's beautiful with this Peach Pit. I just love it. I really love this sock. I have to say it does fly off the needles. I think my only complaint about this sock, and it's more of a preference thing than anything else, is that it is a 1x1 ribbed cuff around the ankle or around the leg. And I am not really a fan of the 1x1. I feel like it tends to look a little bit more sloppy, just in general. And then even when you stretch it, it looks very, I don't know. I mean, I know that the reason we create hand knit things is to look handmade or to look hand knit, but I guess it's just too hand knit looking for me when I see a 1x1 rib. So, you know, I love it. I love the sock. It's fine. It's going to be just fine. But I think that next time I do a pair of Hermione's Everyday Sock, I would just go ahead and do a 2x2 just because that's my preference. But other than that, you know, I'm really loving the sock. But let me show you what I mean by the difference between the 1x1 and the 2x2 in my opinion. So this is another sock that I have been making very slow progress on. So here you can see this sock right here is knit using, let me see if I can, okay. So this sock right here is knit using a 2x2, and then this is of course the 1x1. And I don't know if you can see that, but I definitely think this one looks much neater, much more crisp. This one looks a little bit, let me get these threads out of the way. This one tends to look a little bit more, I don't know, lumpy, I guess, inconsistent even. And I mean, it's knit using small needles, so it seems like it would be not messy. It would be pretty consistent looking, but there's just something about a 2x2 that just looks more consistent to me. So I don't know if you notice that, but that's kind of just my preference, is the 2x2. I tend to think that it fits the leg a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, and it looks a little bit better on the leg. 1x1 doesn't cinch in and squeeze in. I don't want it to be super tight to where it leaves marks on my leg, but I definitely want it to hold its place and hold its shape, and I feel like a 2x2 does that a little bit better than a 1x1. So that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. But I think from now on, when I knit socks, I'm going to stick to a 2x2 rib. That's just me. So this, like I said, is the Hermione's Everyday Sock. This is the Peach Pit colorway in Fiber for the People yarn, and this is Movin' On Up. And here is the cake of yarn for Peach Pit. It comes out really super blown out on the camera. It's a little bit deeper than what you're seeing right now. Not much, but a little bit. And there's more pops of berry that are kind of seen throughout in reality rather than on the screen. But it's really beautiful. The stellina really makes it pop. So if you want any more of a closer detailed look at Peach Pit, go ahead and head over to fiberforthepeopleyarn.com. That is where you can find my yarn shop online, but there is also a tab for colorways where you can see all of the colorways that I have in circulation in photographs, and that gives you a little bit more of an idea of what the colorways look like. Anything that I show you here on the screen, you can see over there and kind of get a better idea of what it looks like in reality as opposed to here and with the lights kind of blowing it out a little bit. So in addition to the project bag that I showed you that I picked up in Seward, I do have a couple other acquisitions that I wanted to take some time and share with you guys today. The first being a lovely, gorgeous, scrumptious skein of yarn from the beautiful Christy, who is the dyer behind Yarn Cafe Creations. She so generously sent me this skein of yarn for myself. And Christy, I'm gonna get right back at you because this is gorgeous and I love it. So anyway, she sent this to me. I think it is one that I had eyeballed in her collection before, and I love it so much. So I just want to share it with you guys. Definitely check out Yarn Cafe Creations if you haven't. And then also her daughter Tristan has her own yarn company as well. It is Dragon Horde Yarn. They're just so beautiful. You probably have already heard about them. They have a podcast called The Girls in the Yarn Cafe, also an excellent podcast, one of my personal favorites. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and show off Oktoberfest, which is on her full-bodied sock base. So here it is. Look at this, you guys. I can't even begin to tell you the party of colors that are in front of me right now. I mean, you can see them, but how much I love these. Just gorgeous. The pinks and the oranges and the black speckles that you can see. It's actually, they're almost like a deep brown with the green in there. Oh, you guys, it's just so much fun. Thank you, Christy, so much. This is beautiful yarn. And this yarn base, you guys, oh my gosh, it's called the Full-Bodied Sock, and it is so scrumptious and yummy. I love it so much. So this is from Yarn Cafe Creations. It is Oktoberfest. I'm not sure if it's in her shop right now, but there are so many other beautiful colorways. If this is not in there, you definitely need to check it out. So thank you, Christy. So I also received a beautiful donation to the show from Martha from Tuft Woolens, some really beautiful wool wash soap, and I want to share that with you guys. I love finding artisan, soaps and body care products, and especially wool washes, because they are just the most scrumptious. They have the best smells, and I just love supporting those kinds of businesses. But Tuft Woolens, if you haven't heard of them, or if you haven't heard of the company, which is Martha, you can find her on Instagram as well, but definitely check them out. You can find them online at tuftwoolens.com. But you guys, this wool wash is delicious. So I'm gonna show you what I have here. She sent some little packages of sock soap samples. We have, and I love the way that she packages these. I just think they're so precious. So here kind of is the package that she sent. So she has her little card on the front that you can see here. And it has information about the soaps on the back. And she sent me, these are the samples, and they're so cute. I love them so much. But in each of these little wax paper bags is a chunk of the sock soap. So I have here Blueberry Lemonade. I wish, Smell-O-Vision. I'm telling you, we need to invent Smell-O-Vision on YouTube. Red Currant and Mandarin, Honeycomb, and eucalyptus lemon, and vetiver and cedarwood. Maybe I'm saying vetiver wrong. Is it vetiver? Is it French? It looks like, vetiver. There's no R in the beginning portion of that word. So vetiver and cedarwood, but it doesn't matter because these all smell delicious. They're so yummy, and I love the presentation in the little package here. So Martha, thank you so much. So we have that. She also sent me with a Tuft Woolens sock soap, and it's in a little sheep mold. So cute. You guys, what? So cute. And this, let's see, I just know it smells really good. What is the fragrance here? A fragrance on this particular soap, but its ingredients are, it's just fragranced with essential oils, and it smells So beautiful and so subtle, but it's perfect for washing your socks, your small woolen goods. I think it's great because you really want to take care of those things. You want to use a really good soap so that they last and last and last. And so these are the types of products that I recommend using whenever you purchase hand-dyed yarn and then you knit something with those skeins of hand-dyed yarn. Definitely use soap like this, because if you throw them in the washing machine, they are superwash, but you're risking, losing a little bit of that hand-dyed goodness that comes in the yarn when you buy it. So these things are really, really great for that. So I definitely recommend something like this for washing your socks and your hand knits. She also sent, and I'm so excited about this is Fresh Pear and Coconut Luxury Lip Balm. And I love a good lip balm, and I'm really excited to give this a try because I love it so much. And then also, and I'm going to be sending out the samples as giveaways. I'm going to be sending out the sock soap as a giveaway. And then this is also, because I have a lot of these, but I love this so much. It's a body balm, a hand and body balm, kind of like a Lolo bar. But what I really love about this one is it comes in almost like a little deodorant container. You just pull the cap off and you can rub it where you need it. So I think it's really user-friendly. Can a body balm be user-friendly? It can now. But here it is. This is just a hand and body balm. Royal Apiary is the fragrance here, but it's lovely. I love it so much, and I think that her packaging is just spot on. So definitely check out Tuft Woolens if you haven't had that opportunity. I'm going to be putting that away for a future giveaway, but I just wanted to share that with you because I love it so much. This is her business card. Simple, beautiful aesthetic here for her business card, but love the business card, love the products. Thank you so much again, Martha, for providing those for the show as a giveaway, and I'm excited to give those away. So those are some of the acquisitions that I have. Not a whole lot, but I just wanted to share that with you guys for this episode of the podcast. All right, you guys, it is just about time for me to head out. Thank you again so much for stopping by to check out this episode of the podcast. I know it's been a long time, and I feel so great to be back in my white chair in front of the camera filming this episode. But I just wanted to remind you, because it has been a while, that like always, I am doing a local yarn store call to action. This is where I ask you to head on out to your local yarn stores, get some footage of the inside of the yarn shop, the outside of the yarn shop, anything that you think would be interesting to share with us here at the Wool Needles Hands podcast. So get your footage, email it to me at woolneedleshands@gmail.com, and I will share it here on the podcast. I share every local yarn store that has been submitted at the end of the episode, so check for those at the end of each episode. So definitely get those into me. Thank you so much. That's all I have time for today, you guys. It has been so nice being back and chatting with you. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out episode 14. It has been a long time coming, and I've been so anxious to film this episode, so it feels so good to have done it, to have a chance to share some of the things going on with you guys. Definitely don't forget to submit your local yarn store to the podcast using the woolneedleshands@gmail.com email address so I can share it at the end of another future episode. For right now, I am going to be leaving you with Back Alley Fibers, which was submitted by Devette Pittman, and she is in Caro, Michigan. So thank you, Devette. I am so excited to be able to include this at the end of the episode. Happy knitting, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Enjoy this cooling down of the weather that's happening right now. Welcome fall, because I'm so excited for fall. It's my favorite season. But until next time, you guys, have a great one, and I'll see you later. Bye.